US Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be visiting India on the 27th of July and the 28th, and this will be Blinken's first visit to India after taking office. Now, he will meet Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. The visit comes a few weeks after Jaishankar visited the US. Blinken and Jaishankar have had detailed conversations this year at the G7 meeting in the UK and the G20 meeting in Italy. In March of this year, US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin had visited India. In April, US Special Envoy on Climate Change John Kerry, too, paid a visit to New Delhi. The latest high-level visit holds great importance for both India and the US. Both sides are expected to explore new ways to deepen collaboration. The visit comes as the Taliban continues to expand control in Afghanistan. Top US diplomat for South Asia Dean Thompson said, and I quote, Blinken would welcome India's shared commitment to peace and supporting economic development in Afghanistan. We expect that all the countries in the region have a shared interest in a stable and secure Afghanistan going forward, and so we will certainly be looking at talking with our Indian partners about how we can work together to realize that goal. Now, India has recently evacuated 50 diplomats from its consulate in Kandahar. Implications of the withdrawal of the US forces from Afghanistan will be on the agenda. The need for sustained pressure on Pakistan on terror financing and terror havens will also be discussed. Afghanistan government has accused Pakistan of helping the Taliban. Afghanistan's Vice President Amrullah Saleh criticized Pakistan for supporting the Taliban. Moreover, the US considers India an important partner when it comes to countering China. Washington sees New Delhi as helpful in standing up against China's intimidating behavior in Asia and beyond. Indo-Pacific engagement, shared regional security interests, shared democratic values could also be a part of the discussions. Now, India will continue to push for open and consistent supply chains. A number of bilateral and regional issues like trade, investment, security, and climate change will be on the agenda. Meanwhile, Pakistan's National Security Advisor, Mohammad Yusuf, and Inter-Services Intelligence Director General Faiz Hamid are expected to visit Washington next week to hold talks with the American counterparts.
Was ongoing, so I did want to...
Now, our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, is joining us live on the broadcast for more on Blinken's maiden visit to India as the Secretary of State. Good evening to you, Siddhant. Thanks for being with us. Now, Blinken's visit comes at a time when the US forces are completing their withdrawal from Afghanistan, and not to forget that India is a key regional player in the region. What do you have to say about the Afghan agenda that is on the cards for the Blinken trip?
Well, Alison, Afghanistan is going to undoubtedly top the focus, the priority of the conversations that take place. This is the fourth conversation between the US Secretary of State Blinken and the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, the in-person conversation. As you pointed out, the conversations have already happened on the sidelines of G7, G20 and the bilateral visit of EM. But India will be pressing or talking about sustained pressure on Islamabad when it comes to the issue of cross-border terrorism, on the financial support to terrorism. We know Pakistan remains on FATF's grey list, but the key focus will also be there on that issue, given that how Pakistan continues to also support Taliban. We know when it comes to the Afghan situation, the Afghans have been constantly highlighting how the government in Islamabad has been supporting the Taliban, and they of course have been increasing violence in the country. But in the past as well, in fact, just few weeks ago, we know that the Indian External Affairs Minister was in Tehran, Moscow, Dushanbe and Tashkent. In Tashkent, on the sidelines of the Connectivity Summit, he had a meeting with the US Special Envoy on Afghanistan, Zalmay Khalilzad, on the evolving situation in Afghanistan. So undoubtedly, Afghanistan remains a top concern, a top priority for both countries. But other than that, this visit will also focus on many issues, including Indo-Pacific, on the supply chains when it comes to manufacturing of the vaccines, when it comes to COVID, and also the Quad meeting as well. We know Washington is keen for the first in-person Quad meeting of leaders later this year. And this could lay the foundation of this summit that is expected to happen. Already, we know that a virtual meeting has happened of the Quad leaders, in which the key outcome was the Quad vaccine initiative, under which India will be the manufacturing base of COVID vaccines. These vaccines will be produced from early of next year and will be given to countries in the Indo-Pacific. So whether it's Afghanistan, whether it's Indo-Pacific, whether it's vaccines, all will be the key focus during this visit, the second visit by a Biden administration official to New Delhi after the visit of the US Defense Secretary.
Right, Siddhant, you have touched on it. I just want to unpack it a little bit more. Let's talk about Pakistan. The leaders will likely discuss, as you've said, the need for sustained pressure on Pakistan over terror financing. Now, Pakistan, as we know, has been a terror haven, and recent reports point to the fact that it has been helping the Taliban as it continues its offensive in Afghanistan. What are your further comments here?
Well, when it comes to Pakistan, in fact, just recently at the Uzbekistan Connectivity Summit, we saw the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani publicly lashing out at Pakistan, and Prime Minister Imran Khan was present in the same hall when the Afghan President said that about 1,000 or tens of thousands of jihadis have crossed into Afghanistan from Pakistan. So a public acknowledgement by the government in Kabul shows that how there is a level of frustration when it comes to dealing with Pakistan. We also know, if we contrast the relationship of India with US and Pakistan with US, while there have been a number of engagement when it comes to US and India, this is a relationship which is much celebrated. There hasn't been even a call between the US President Biden and the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan. In fact, the NSA is going to go to Washington, the Pakistan NSA, and this visit could see perhaps the Pakistani is keen that there can be a meeting or conversation between Biden and Imran Khan. But also we need to understand the Americans are also frustrated with the dual game Pakistan has been playing for almost 20 years now. It has been earlier very shy of hosting the Taliban. In fact, they were hosting, but they were not very public about it. But in recent years, we have seen how there have been public hugs between the Taliban leadership and the Pakistani leadership, the Pakistani foreign minister especially, and this shows that how Taliban and Pakistan are almost one and the same thing, and how perhaps Pakistan is keen that there is a change, perhaps a repetition of what happened in Afghanistan in 1990s, and that is something that Washington and New Delhi are not keen on. They don't want to see a repetition of 1990s, and especially want to preserve the gains of last 20 years, especially when it comes to the rights of the minorities, the women's right, which of course under Taliban regime will be under a threat.
Siddhant, thanks very much for that report, bringing us all the latest there.
WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.